So this is part 2 of chapter 2, Indian economy 1950 to 1990.
Welcome back once again. In the last lesson, we discussed about the concept of growth as one of the measures of 5-year plans, right? Now, in today's lesson, we'll discuss about the concept of modernization, equity, and self-reliance. So let's get started with the concept of modernization as one of the goals of 5-year plans. So first of all, we need to understand. So this first economic growth we've already discussed, right? How do we calculate economic growth? That is calculated by GDP. This all was already covered in the last lesson only. So here is the modernization concept. So how modernization in any economy can be brought by? This is what we need to understand. As you can see here in the screen, modernization in any economy can be brought by three ways, right? One of the ways is through adoption of new technology in the agriculture sector. For example, using HYV seeds or fertilizer, right? And then when we talk about the industrial sector development, then using new methods of production can also be one of the ways through which modernization can be adopted, right? For example, transformation of the economy from labor intensive technology to capital intensive technology, right? So labor intensive technology से capital intensive technology के towards भी transform करना भी modernization का एक part होता है. And the third is change in social outlook. So what do we mean by this third aspect, change in social outlook? Here basically we give more emphasis to the gender empowerment, right? For example, giving more education to women and women empowerment and equal opportunity to all the people in the society, right? So all these things we incorporate under the third aspect, that is changes in the social outlook. Now this third aspect is very much important for bringing about modernization in any economy. Why? Because there is this quote that says that any economy can be progressed properly only when the women of that economy are able to get equal opportunity, right? When the female of that particular society or country are progressing, right, then only we can call that society or a nation to be completely modernized, right? So this third aspect is very very important aspect for bringing about modernization in any economy. So for example, let us assume there is a nation A, and in this nation A, we are seeing that agriculture is also progressing a lot and industrial sector is also developing a lot, but there in this society or country, women are not getting equal opportunities. They are deprived of their rights. So, can we call that nation as a modernized nation? No, we cannot call that nation as a modernized nation until and unless there the people of the countries are getting equal opportunity, equal rights, right? So, this is very important aspect for bringing about modernization. Now let's move on to the next slide and talk about the concept of self-reliance concept, right? Third goal of 5-year plan. And the third goal of 5-year plan, as you can see in the front of the screen, is self-reliance, right? So what do we mean by the term self-reliance? It is basically stand for self-dependence, right? Or why do we need self-reliance? So as to reduce the dependence on the foreign country. And how dependence on foreign country can be reduced? By increasing our domestic production, right? When we'll increase our domestic production, then we will automatically reduce the foreign dependence from other economy, because we were at that period of time our economy was heavily relying on the import of food grain from western economies. So because of the import of food grain from western economies, the political leaders would intervene in our internal policy matters a lot. So because of that we weren't able to make rules and regulation for our own economy freely. So that was also one of the reasons why our economy wanted to be self-reliance in that way. And other than that, there was also requirement to increase in the to preserve our foreign exchange reserves, right? So whenever you import from other economy, you have to make payment to them in terms of the foreign currency also, right? So when you reduce your imports, automatically your foreign exchange reserve will also be preserved. So that was also one of the reasons why our economy wanted to be self-sufficient. So self-sufficiency in food grain was required, and also because we wanted to decrease the foreign aid and to reduce the dependence on foreign import, and we wanted to increase our export and rise in the contribution of industries in GDP, because our producers weren't competent enough to produce goods and services as compared to what other foreign industrialists would produce. So that is why our country had to make our producers also competent enough so as to make them self-reliant or self independent. Now let's move on to the next slide and talk about the last goal of 5-year plan. And the last goal of 5-year plan, one more thing that we can add to self-reliance concept. This was actually done because of the following reason. We wanted to decrease our foreign dependence for food. We've already discussed, right? And it was also feared that the dependence on import food supplies, foreign technology and foreign equipments or capital may make India's sovereignty vulnerable to foreign interference in our policy. So this we discussed in the very initial topic only. Now let's move on to the last slide of the 5-year goal. The last goal is equity, right? Now how equity can be achieved. See, whatever goals of 5-year plan we've discussed so far, the very first was growth, right? Another was modernization, and third was self-sufficiency, and the last is equity. So that growth concept, the very first concept that we studied, growth as one of the goals of 5-year plan. If that growth has the contribution of all the people, if benefit of that growth is availed by every section of the society, then we can say yes, there is equity in our economy. But if all people are not able to reap the benefit of that growth on an equal proportion, then we cannot say there has been equal distribution of growth also. So there is a dire need for bringing equality in our economy. So how equality can be brought by any nation? So first of all, just understand the meaning of equity. It refers to reduction in inequality of income and wealth, uplifting the weaker section of the society, and a more even distribution of economic wealth or power. So how equality can be brought by? It can be brought by providing subsidies to the poor people of the society, or levying taxes onto the rich section of the society. So these are some of the ways, or by giving some kind of food grain, or through PDS system. These are also some of the ways through which equity can be brought by any nation. So this was the last goal of 5-year plan. So first of all, you need to know that when we talk about the concept of equity, basic needs of the people must be fulfilled, like healthcare facility, housing and education. These things should be provided by the government of any nation. Then only we can say yes, there is equal distribution of power or wealth in that particular economy. So we've discussed all the goals of 5-year plan. First was growth, second was modernization, third was self-sufficiency, and the fourth was equity. Now let's move on to the next slide and talk about condition of different sector. Condition of different sector like agriculture sector, industrial sector and trade policy, right? So we discussed in the first chapter of the lesson what was the condition of agriculture sector and industrial sector, and what was the foreign trade condition in our economy at the time of independence. But after getting independence, how our government, how the leaders of independent India, what kind of policies, strategies, rule, regulation they adopted to increase production in agriculture sector and to increase the growth of industrial sector, and how we actually adopted what kind of changes we've done in foreign trade policy so as to increase our production, so as to increase our foreign trade with other nations. So all these will be dealing in detail. So we're gonna begin with the very first, that is changes, changes or reforms in agriculture sector. So now let's move on to the next slide. So let's now discuss what kind of measures were undertaken by the government of India to promote growth in the agriculture sector. As you can see, one of the measures was land reform. What do we mean by the term land reform? It refers to the change in the ownership of the land holding, right? Now, why this land reform was brought by the government? Because at that period of time, there were many poor farmers or peasants, or you can say cultivators, who were actually working on the land, but they were doing work on some other person's land holding, right? And they were not owning any portion of land for themselves, whereas there were very few people who were owning a large portion of land holding, like zamindars, right? So to reduce the concentration of a large land holding in the few hands, this land reform system was adopted by the government. Now, what was the main aim? As we've already discussed, it was the motive to bring land reform was to achieve equity in the ownership of land holding, and another motive was to increase the average size of land holding. So these were two motives for which land reform was brought by the government. Now let's move on to the next slide and talk about what all kind of steps were brought by the government under this system of land reforms. As you can see in the front of the screen, there were basically three ways through which land reforms were implemented. Number one, abolition of intermediaries or zamindars, right? So if you remember, in the very first lesson of our class, we discussed how what kind of exploitative measures were taken by the zamindars, right? So because of the exploitative measures of the zamindars, our poor peasants were at loss. They were having they were not incentivized at all to make any kind of improvement on the land portion, because their entire share was taken by the zamindars only. So there was a dire need after the independence. Under this land reform measure, there was dire need to abolish zamindari system. Why? Because they were the only people who were taking entire credit of the efforts of our poor farmer. So what has been done here? Under this system, approximately 200 poor peasants or tenants, you can say approximately 200 poor tenants were directly brought into the contact of government, right? So 200 lakh, basically 200 lakh, not 200, in fact 200 lakh tenants were directly brought into the contact with the government. So other than this, this was also done so that our farmers can be incentivized to put some kind of investment for the improvement of the agriculture sector. So this was about abolition of intermediaries. Now another step that was undertaken under land reform was tenancy reform. Now what was done under tenancy reform? Here changes were to be brought for improvement in the condition of the tenant, right? Our tenants were very poor, their condition was very much pathetic. So as to improve their condition, tenancy reforms were brought. Now the third measure that was brought was reorganization in reforms, right? So what do we mean by this term reorganization? Here basically it was done to regulate land size that one person can actually hold, right? So reorganizational reforms, basically this is how we have to read it. So now let's move on to the next slide and talk in detail a little bit more about each of them. So zamindari system, as we've already discussed, this was basically done so that ownership right can be given to the poor people, right? Ownership right can be given to the poor people. That is why abolition of intermediaries was done, and this was also done with the view to save tiller from getting exploited from the hands of zamindar. So that was also under abolition of intermediaries. One of the objectives of abolition of intermediaries. Now next is tenancy reform. Under tenancy reform, what do we have to understand? There were basically three ways through which tenancy reforms were done. Number one, regulation of rent. Number two, security of tenure. Number three, ownership right for tenants. So these were the three ways through which tenancy reforms were tried to be brought by the government. Now the third was reorganizational reforms. Now what do we mean by the term reorganizational reform? That we need to see. Moving back, yeah. So under reorganizational reform, again three ways through which reorganizational reforms were brought. Number one, land ceiling. Number two, consolidation of land holding, and number three, cooperative farming. Now, what do we mean by the term land ceiling? So, ceiling basically is a term which is basically fixing, right? Limiting something. So here, ceiling on land basically refers to the fixation of land holding a particular person can actually own, right? So under this, what was actually done? Government has actually fixed a minimum portion of the land holding that an individual can own, and if any person is found to be owning beyond the announced limit of the land holding, then his or her land will be taken away by the government. So that was done under land selling system. Under consolidation of land holding, basically see at that what used to happen under consolidation of land holding, there were, because in our country there is this system of law of inheritance, right? So what happens under law of inheritance, let us assume there is the farmer, right? And a farmer is having like four sons, right? So among his all four sons, his if he is owning a small portion of land holding, then among his all four sons, this small portion of land holding will be divided, right? So this will lead to fragmentation of the land holding, and fragmentation of the land holding leads to the reduction in the productivity, right? So that was also one of the reasons why government was actually willing to consolidate the land holding so as to increase its productivity. Now the third is cooperative farming. So this was also one of the ways through which reorganizational reforms were brought. Now we've completed all types of land reforms. Moving on to the, so now let's discuss about the causes of slow progress of land reform. So the concept that we studied so far about the implementation of land reform, there it had some kind of loopholes also. Now what kind of loopholes or limitation it had? This you can see in the front of the screen. There were majorly four problems that were associated with the implementation of land reform. So one of them, as you can see in the front of the screen, was lack of political will. So what was there? There were some politicians who were also backed by some of the big zamindars. So these politicians were not willing to implement this concept of land reform effectively. So that was one of the reasons. Another reason was flaws in legislation. Flaws meaning kind of loophole. So there were also some zamindars who continued to own large portion of land holding by making some use of loopholes in the legislation, because the kind of definition that was given by the government for implementing land reform, that had itself some flaws, because of which zamindar were able to find out loophole very easily. Now the third was malified transfer. Malified transfer, what was done under this? There were some, some of the zamindars were also able to transfer their land holding onto their relatives. They were very easily, they could very easily, pass on to their portion of land to their relatives, because of which they were able to pretend not to be owning huge portion of land holding. So that was third loophole. Another was inadequate proof of tenants. Now, if government wanted to give ownership right to the tenant, then there was this predefined criteria that the tenants must be having certain documents with themselves, so that they can be identified that they are they are poor peasants. But there were certain tenants who were lacking in having all these documents, because of which not all tenants could be given ownership right of the land holding. So these were some of the reasons leading to slow progress of land reforms. If you talk about some areas like Kerala and West Bengal, their land reform were were implemented very successfully, because the government here was very much committed to the policies of land reform. But if you talk about other states, then other state did not have the same level of commitment, and so this led to the inequality in the land holding among many people. So this was all about loophole in the land holding. Now, so in the next class, we'll talk about the concept of green revolution as one of the measures through which government tried to promote agriculture sector in our economy. So for the time being, thank you so much. Take a good care of yourself and stay home and be safe.
So that's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.